Hey guys, this is just one guy, and I wanted to talk about some of the behind the scenes of game programming and give you an example of one of the reasons that it takes so long. Now, now, if you watch my videos, you know I just put a stealth system into the Mistborn fanmade game. Now, that stealth system only took me about 3, maybe 4 hours to write the code for, and it involves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 functions, which aren't really that hard. It's just basically detecting a wall and then moving past it, and it just basically deals with acquiring a target and then putting in some animations. It wasn't that complicated. Most of these functions aren't that complicated. They may look like a lot of code, but it's just recycling a bunch of stuff. Essentially, what happens is the player raycast to find if it's a wall so you can play the proper animation and stuff like that. It's not that complicated. Now, even though this only took me a couple of hours to write, the actual stealth system took about a week. And the reason is because I couldn't get this one function right. Now, I wrote the function right. There was nothing wrong with it. It worked the same way it was. The problem is when you go into this right here. The problem, well, let me explain the function first. This function controls how the NPC patrols. When he's looking for a player and he's on patrol, he basically walks from one point to another, and this just lets him walk from a certain amount of points. You enter all the points into the function, and then he walks to a certain point, stops at that point, and then moves on to the next point. It's a pretty simple function. Now the problem was when I played this function just by itself, it worked no problem. But within the rest of the functions, once the NPC started searching for the enemy, he could never go back to patrolling properly. And what will happen is he uh, he would start skipping points when in his patrol and everything like that. He would skip over points. And so I couldn't figure out what the problem was. I figured that I was writing the function wrong or something like that. So first I went through this function and everything like that. Now I'm gonna tell you the problem with it was this function right here, which is reach target location. When he reached one of the points, he has this function right here. He has this variable right here, which lets him know that he reached a point, and then he needs to search for. He needs to go to the next point. The problem was this point would come up too fast. Now that reach function point is controlled by a function in this script. This is the script that controls the AI. Now, as you can see, we go by the number. It's 1,780 lines long. This is what I mean, what I was saying in my other videos, that the AI can do a lot of stuff. This AI can jump and go to its he can jump, go to destinations, run animations, attack, dodge. He can do a lot of stuff. So my AIs are pretty complicated. But the problem was, if I can go to this function, let me see if I can find it. I wrote this function right now, which is go to a non-combat point. And it basically sends the AI to a point. And this took me 3 days to figure out because I was going through all this trying to figure out what I did wrong. The problem is this function right here. If agent, which is the mesh agent, gets to remaining distance is before the stopping distance, it basically lets the NPC knows that it's at its point. This does not work at all. I don't know why Unity put this in here, but it does not work. It'll kind of tell you, but it always takes like a couple of seconds or something like that. So I would just think like if he hits this remaining point or if it's less than that, then he reached his destination and that was it. No. The problem with this function is if you write it that way, he'll reach the destination and then they say he's not at the destination, then he is at the destination at the same time. It will never work exactly how you think it is. It'll never just he reached the destination and then he says reach destination and that's it. it'll say he reached the destination and didn't reach the destination at the same time, which caused this function right here over in the track enemies patrol script to messed up, because he can never really tell when he was at his at the point he was supposed to be or not at the point. And that would cause the AI to glitch out. Now this is an example of something I couldn't predict because I wrote all my code perfectly, but Unity's code did not work the way you would expect it to work. Now the solution to this was, let me see if I have it in here. Eventually, I just used a distance space code. Now that by itself wouldn't fix it because it will have the same problems as the Unity code. Uh, if he gets within this distance, then it'll just say if he gets within a certain amount of distance to his point, it'll just say it reached the target. Now that kind of fixes it, but that won't fix it fully. What I also did was I slowed the function down using an enumerator. Now when he gets to his point, he straight up stops, and that's it. He stops running all functions, and then while he stopped, then he detects whether he's at his correct point. This is important because if you just let it go to the point and he tries to detect it, he will always detect that he's at the point and not the point, whether you're using Unity's function right here or distance space, which I'm using. The only way I could fully get it to work was have him straight stop at the point for a certain amount of time, at least a couple of seconds. Now that was an example of something that it only took me about maybe 2 or 3 hours to write these 5 functions to actually get the whole stealth system to work. But it took me 3 days to figure out that little problem right there. And I just wanted to show an example of something that's pretty simple on its face that can turn out to take a long while when you run into these little problems. Because that wasn't my problem. That's a problem within Unity, with Unity's functions not working properly. Because you would think this function just says if the navmesh agent remaining distance is less than a stopping distance, then just stop the character. You would think that's pretty simple, but no, it doesn't work that way. Even if you tried it with the distance, just manually writing the distance code, it still doesn't work that way. And then the only way to get it to work was to write an IEnumerator rule to stop all the code from running until he found out whether he was at his distance or not. And that's just a little example of something that's fairly simple, being able to take days just because you can't figure that out. Because without that, what the AI would do was he would get to his point and then glitch out and start twitching around because he couldn't tell whether he was at the proper point, whether to stop animating or keep animating, whether to keep trying to run, and it was just causing a bunch of issues. And I just wanted to give everybody a behind the scenes of little things that make stuff take long. That make games take longer than what you would expect, because I wrote my code perfectly and it worked, and that would have only taken a couple of hours. But then when I ran into that little problem, it ended up taking almost a week to get that done. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for watching.